What does it mean to live more with less? I'm Katie Wells, and welcome to the Maximized Minimalist Podcast. If you found yourself caught up in the hamster wheel of modern-day motherhood and want to rewrite the script, congratulations, you're in the right place. I'm here to be your guide and help you take back your motherhood and achieve a simpler, more joy-filled life. Cheers to being a maximized minimalist. Enjoy the show. If you've ever walked into your creative space and you felt like so overwhelmed by the clutter, then this episode is for you. We're going to be tackling a topic that I know many people relate to, which is the craft room, or as it often becomes, the dreaded doom room filled with clutter. And today's episode was inspired by a question I got from a listener. We'll call her Sarah. And she shared a common struggle that she has a craft room filled with supplies, projects she's wanted to start for years, half-done projects she's never finished, and also sentimental items. It's really just become this amalgam of clutter and excess. But every time she walks into her room, she's just overwhelmed by the craft clutter, and she turns around and walks out. So not only is she not able to utilize it for its intended purpose, but she's also feels so stuck by, being unable to let go of some of these things, and feels torn between holding on to what feels like these creative dreams, but also the reality of her really busy life. Does this sound familiar? I think this is all too common. So really quickly, I do want to cover the top, in my opinion, 5 reasons why craft rooms become these doom rooms over time. We will follow up with some practical and true Katie fashion, but I do think it's important we just briefly touch on the why, right? This is about pulling the weed out by the root, okay? Number 1, unlimited possibilities and limited time. Craft rooms are often where we store our creative dreams, so to speak, but let's be real. Sometimes life gets busy. We are in a new season in life, perhaps, and when we purchased a lot of those supplies, and those dreams can get put on the back burner. And the more projects we accumulate, the more cluttered and overwhelming the space becomes. And again, it hinders us often from allowing it to even fulfill its intended purpose, once intended purpose. Emotional attachment to the supplies is a doozy. Sometimes we buy materials with specific projects in mind. Those supplies can hold a lot of emotional weight, and letting go can feel like, am I letting go of the dream or part of myself or part of this identity? Also, the I might need this or use this one day mentality. The reality is crafting is a hobby full of what ifs, and also like the potential. I know a lot of artists. I wouldn't consider myself one, but all the artists I know see the potential of something. My younger son is an artist in his way, and he sees the potential of every rock, every stick outside, every anything. And that's an amazing thing. That is a gift. But, that mentality, what if I need this fabric, or what if I need those buttons later? It can lead to an accumulation of materials that rarely, if ever, get used. And then, of course, we have, in a lot of cases, sentimental value. Craft rooms often house not just supplies, but items that can hold deep sentimental value. And those can be hard to part with, adding layers of just emotional clutter. And then I think number 5, rounding it up here, is the inconsistent use. Crafting is something we tend to do when we have time on our hands, which for a lot of us isn't always consistent. This means projects get left on the back burner, they get left unfinished, or in a lot of cases, if we're honest, unstarted. Supplies are left out. Before we know it, the room is a mess. And again, it can't fulfill its intended purpose. So now I want to talk about what we can do about it. If you're feeling like Sarah, overwhelmed and torn between holding on to the past and moving forward, I want to bring in some really effective, reflective questions and thoughts to help guide you. Because it's easy to hold on to these projects for a lot of us because they represent something more than just hobbies. They're tied to an earlier version of yourself, one that was perhaps more creative than you've been able to be, and maybe one that had really big plans. But life has shifted in a lot of ways for a lot of us, and it's okay to acknowledge that things are different now. As I always say, in order to declutter the thing, you have to start by decluttering the belief. So what's your belief? Do you have a belief that if you let go of these supplies, you're letting go of your creativity, that you'll never be creative again, that you'll never knit again, paint again, draw again? Do you have the belief that not finishing those projects means that you're a failure, And by letting go of those half-finished projects or donating them to someone who would be excited and thrilled to have them, that again, it's like, well, I'm a failure. I stink. These beliefs can be just as cluttered, damaging, and overwhelming as the items themselves. So I want to dig into this a little bit more, right? What do these projects or supplies truly represent to you? Again, on its own, stuff is neutral, but we assign meaning to it. Is it the creativity? Is it the idea of having free time? Or maybe the connection to who you used to be? Understanding the root can help in finding peace with letting go. You can ask yourself, is it the actual supplies that make you creative, or is it something within you? Again, this is so key. Creativity isn't dependent on a room full of materials. It's a mindset. It's an approach to life. It's a God-given talent for some of us. Watch a young child at play to remember that. Like I said, the other day, I watched my 7-year-old do this. He built a super cool fort out of a cardboard box, tape, and some sticks and rocks he found on the ground. He didn't need an entire room dedicated to fort building supplies. Sure, he loved that, but he got resourceful and he was still able to be creative. How do you feel when you see those unfinished projects? I ask every single one of my one-on-one clients this question who are going through their craft room. And 10 times out of 10, they say the same thing. They say, I feel stressed. I feel overwhelmed. I feel guilty. I feel a lot of shame. They don't say, oh, it brings me joy, or it gets me excited to be able to use those things one day, or I can't wait for the day that I have the time to put back into that project. If for you, it's more of the first one, I feel bad, I feel guilty, it makes me feel like bad about myself, then it might be a sign they're no longer serving you in a positive way. Remember, our stuff can talk to us, and our stuff, especially these types of projects or supplies, can kind of be a little mean sometimes. It can be a little bullyish. Right? Oh, remember when you used to be creative and have the time to use me and paint with me and make these really cool things? Look at your life now. It sounds silly to say out loud. This is the stuff we hear when we walk past it sometimes, right? Yes or yes. Letting go of these things doesn't mean you're giving up on creativity. Doesn't mean you're not a creative person. It means you're making space for the kind of creativity that fits into your life right now. Oh, so important. What would your ideal creative space look like now? If you were starting from scratch, be it a home or a room, a blank room, would you even have a craft room? Given your current life and time constraints, what kind of creative outlet feels more realistic and fulfilling for you? Maybe it's something a bit simpler, like drawing classes or making Christmas ornaments that fits more seamlessly into your life. And can you imagine letting go of some of these items and projects? Not as a way of giving up on creativity, but as a way of making room for the creativity that fits into your life now. We are creating space mentally and emotionally too. It's so important to recognize that holding on to these items because of a belief that they define your creativity, or because you fear that letting go of them is a form of failure, is a weight you don't need to carry. Creativity isn't about the quantity of materials you own. Take it from my 7-year-old, or the number of projects you started. It's about the joy and fulfillment you get from the process, no matter how small or simple it may be. Craft rooms don't have to be doom rooms. With a little reflection and a whole lot of grace, you can transform that space into something that really brings you so much joy and serves your current life. I've seen this time and time again. Now, if you're ready to take the next step and dive into more practical hands-on process of decluttering and regaining control of your craft room, I've created a special masterclass exclusively for my Clutter Cure Club members. So in this one, I'll walk you through actionable steps to reclaim your creative space, from organizing your supplies, making those tough decisions about what to keep and what to let go of. It is a comprehensive guide that will empower you to transform your room or your supplies closet, whatever that is, into a haven of creativity. So if you're not a member yet, now is the perfect time to join and get access to this exclusive masterclass. You can head to katiejoywells.com/Clutter Cure Club to sign up. Thanks for hanging out with me today, friend. Until next time, ready, set, simplify. I'll see you next week. Bye.